Hi, I am Princella Stringer, empowerment coach for the single mom. So my mission is to help you focus and tap into your God-given talents. My mission is also to help you focus on and connect the dots to your natural interests, to your practice talents, and your life experiences. I believe this is, after all, how we can begin to make sense of it all and why you were blessed with the life of single motherhood. So I am really excited about today's topic. Today's topic is all about the two most important relationships in your life. If you're watching, I know that both of these mean something to you. Otherwise, you would not have gotten past my mission statement. So, who are your two biggest loves? This video is all about sharing with you who I think your two biggest loves should be, God and yourself. And you may be thinking, well, that sounds a little like ironic or twisted. That sounds something like anti-spiritual or what have you. But allow me a minute to explain. First, I want to share a little bit about my background. So growing up, we didn't go to church every weekend, but even from our divorced family, we had a very loving family growing up. I knew my family believed in God. And when my dad would say things like, "Oh, thank God," I knew he meant thank God. And when my mom took us to church, took us to service, I knew it was important to her that we went. But for me, everything began to change about 10 years ago when I accepted Jesus in my life as my Savior. Everything. And it's really hard to put this kind of thing into words. For anybody that's watching this video and you know what I mean there, it is really difficult to put it into words. I found out that believing in God was only like a half baby step into having a relationship with Him and putting Him first in my life. But what does it mean to put that relationship first and to treat it as my biggest love? So I want to share another story with you. Earlier today, this is one of the things that inspired this talk today. I was in a training class for coaching. You know, I believe absolutely 1000% that staying abreast all of my training and my self-development is hugely important to what I do today, coaching. So anyway, I was in class today and the instructor asked our thoughts about a reading assignment. And I won't go into specifics about the reading assignment except to say it was about a man who had faced unjust imprisonment. His name is Fernando Flores. So now, years later, after his imprisonment, he moved to the States and ultimately became an expert in leadership development. So hearing about the way he delivers his leadership development, I really had a distaste in my gut about his trainings. You know, his language was crass. It was very in your face. You know, this was my opinion. Others in my class took it differently, but this was my opinion. Now, it wasn't until I read more about his background and what led him to the work that he does today when I started to realize that this man, once imprisoned, at this point in his life, had no fear to speak truth. Now, what was special about him, though, is that he dedicated his life to unleashing people to their own self-imprisonment. And so he had no fear in the words that he spoke. He spoke the words that needed to be spoken to free people from their self-imprisonment. So this man was once trapped, obviously it wasn't his choice. Him, like many other game changers in the world. And so he learned that when he became free, there were no boundaries. And he speaks from love of freeing people. This really got me to thinking about why single motherhood and coaching in single motherhood is so important to me. Not only because it is my story, but I also began to realize that for far too long, women that have a history of single motherhood allow themselves to be captive of their circumstances for way too long. Some women never release themselves from it or allow God to guide them out of it. And they build up all these stories like, my kids need me, so I can't take that class. I don't have the money, so I can't get that book. I don't have time, so I can't pour into me. But ladies, there is so much freedom in listening and obeying to the call that God has on your life. You make him your first love and then ask him what you want, and he will provide it. This is no joke. I am so serious. I've seen this happen in my life, and this is why I'm so passionate about sharing this story with you. So if you want to know more about how I began to put this into action in my life, send me a message. You can do it privately or publicly, whichever one you feel most comfortable with, and I'd be happy to share with you what that looked like in my journey. As I said, this was only about 10 years ago where I began to accept Jesus in my life as my Lord and Savior, and it took me a long time to work into steps of being able to speak about it publicly. So it was a journey, and it's a journey that I'm still on. All right, so that brings me back to the second most important relationship, and that's the one with yourself. Single moms, I just want to tell you that it is time to put yourself on the platform of the VIP, the very important person. That is the way God sees you, and that is why he has a plan for your life and a destiny for your life. It never, never, ever gets old to me to hear and to say that you were made for a purpose. I want you to think about this for a minute. You were made for a purpose. Me saying this to you, how does that feel to you and how does it resonate to you? Think about this. Where can you put more time into that purpose? You may be stuck in thinking that you don't have a purpose. As soon as I ask that question, where can you put more time into your purpose? You might say, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm here for. I'm here to be a mom. I'm here to be for my kids. I want to share with you that it is beyond and greater than you can imagine right now. I want you to think about your children right now and think about how you see them. Think of your closest loved ones, your child, your best friend, your relative that has lived life but yet never seemed fulfilled. You never saw that sign of and words of fulfillment in their life. Think of them. And would you say to them and would you believe for them that they have a purpose in this life? I want you to start believing that for you. You have a greater purpose in your life. And my focus is to guide you to finding out what that greater purpose is. So I'm inviting you to start living that out in your life like you believe you have a purpose. You may not know what that purpose is just yet. I don't know if any of us ever really will know ultimately what the ultimate purpose is, but making baby steps and strides to it is what living is all about. So start living out the life as if you believe that you have a purpose. So I would love to hear from you and some thoughts that you have on this topic. Maybe even share some tips about how you came to recognize what your purpose is in this life. I'd love to hear what others have done as well too. So again, if you want to hear how I began to live that out in my life, and trust me, it's an ongoing process. I am no theologian. I am no scholar of the Bible, but I'll tell you, I can only share with you what I know about my journey, and it's such an honor and a blessing to do that. So I hope you had a wonderful day today, and I'm glad you joined me tonight, and I'd love to hear some comments and some feedback about your thoughts. So join us again on Friday where I'll be doing a Q&A. That would be a perfect time to answer any questions about this topic if you have any. So I hope you'll join me on Friday. And if you're catching the replay on this, please do leave a comment and I will get back to you on those as well. So have a great night and bye-bye. See you next time.